So I get an email, and the email is expressing what someone else is going through. And so the title of the email, or the title of the topic, is following the guideline. So anyway, no further ado, let's get right into it. In the email it says, skipping the introduction, how much they admire the young honesty. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate all my supporters, those who are listening, whether they're listening on radio, whether they're listening through another outlet, whether they're listening in their car, in their home, in their bathroom while they're taking a dump. Thank you. Hopefully that 2-ply toilet paper goes a long way. Anyway, and so the gist of the email, getting past the introduction, was, hey, I am a counselor, and I work with children, and I had come to pick up one of my clients who's a kid to take him out. And as I was leaving, my client said, hey, I wanted to bring on my brother. And I told them no, because it's recommended that we don't bring on more than one, and siblings can have an issue unless you're doing family counseling. Then the email further goes a little bit deeper into that area about what they should do and what they don't have to do. And then she goes on and says, and as we were leaving, the parent of the client's the other client came and decided to decided to take measures into their own hand and send their other child with me. And I said no, because I had not planned to take that child with me. And the parents began to, have a sad face and fuss. And then she goes on a little bit more, and she says, and that was an issue because she is only in charge of one, and technically speaking, she can't take care of the other. Now, okay, cool. I am putting that email down, shutting it out, closing my laptop. Forget all that. All right. I know exactly what this lady is talking about. She's talking about these non-qualified parents who would rather eat Doritos and Funyuns sitting on the couch in their pajamas that they've had on for a week versus spending time with their own kids that they helped create. Whether it was intentional or non-intentional, it doesn't matter. That evades the point. The point that is being made is, why do some parents feel like it's okay to thrust their children onto other people who are doing for their kids what the parents should be doing? I don't get it. I don't get it. Now, hats off to all those parents who are fighting for custody, who have custody of their children and are spending time with their kids doing the best that they can. And all of those who are seeking, like this lady right here who's a counselor, are seeking human services and other behavioral services and social services in order to have these counselors come out and counsel their kids. These kids that are like really messed up mentally. I'm talking about, you would ask them, how old are you? And they'd be like, 21? No. I'm talking about they can't even tie their own shoes. They don't, and they're like 19 years old. These people exist. There are kids who are in high school who cannot read beyond the 5th grade reading level. I am not joking. And the sad thing is, these kids kind of resemble an ethnic group inside of America. And without naming their ethnic group, you already know where I'm going at it with. You already know where I'm going at it with. So it don't have to be, it don't have to go any detail as far as who these kids are. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, God forbid that woman would have said yes. Because then these parents would have been like, oh, got you. Or we know you ain't gonna never say no, so we're gonna keep asking and begging and begging. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, there's no possible way that these parents are satisfied with their life the way that it's going. Because, of course, in the email, I'm not reading the entire email to you, but she goes on to say that the parents have 10 children together. They have 10 kids. And then she goes on to further to say, hang on. She goes on to further to say that these kids, all these kids receive counseling, or they have cognitive function issue, they're intellectually disabled. That's what it is. They're intellectually disabled. So not only did the parents have the guards to have one kid screaming dum dum by 10, they decided to have 9 more kids with the same condition. Listen, I understand swinging for the fences, but I think these parents, they deserve the Olympic gold for never quitting and striking the iron while it's hot. There has to be another level to this. There has to be levels to this, because I myself am a father of 3. And if you count my 2 dogs, they are like infant children that don't grow up ever, besides just getting old and slowing down, but they're still kid-like. Yeah, and the sad thing is the dogs don't even have enough common sense to go out and go get a job and go buy their own kibbles and bits. So they have to rely on me or my wife. And so she goes on to further say that, she felt bad. Listen, lady, if you're listening right now, thank you for sending me this email. But don't you ever feel guilty for doing something that you know you were supposed to do. It is not your fault that these people created the situation and circumstances that they currently exist in. I don't want to hear that years of slavery bullcrap, all right? I'm an African-American male. I understand what slavery has done psychologically to our people. But understand this, if you operate under the exception that it's okay to exclude your actions in all of this, then you're bound to make similar mistakes that they've made. They are the people who are oppressed. So when it comes down to it, I'm trying to really grasp the concept of what she's feeling guilty about. Are you feeling guilty that these parents are reaching out to, social services or human services or whoever they're reaching out, or however they got your number? I'm trying to figure out exactly where does all this fit in? Where does all this fit in? Where do you fit into this piece? And if she doesn't mind me asking, the woman who wrote this email, why do you even have to entertain these parents to the point of saying they should have enough common sense and courtesy to sit here and say, hey, they're already helping one of my kids out? Because she goes on to further to say in the email that she's buying clothes for the kids, because she don't have any kids. She's saying she's buying clothes, helping the kid out, taking in donations, helping the family out, giving the family food and stuff for the holidays that just passed. And I'm like, lady, you're going above and beyond. You ain't got to do nothing else. And then for them, and then this is the thing. One of the parents tried to guilt trip the lady, the counselor. I'm gonna stop calling her lady. I'm gonna call her by her profession. She's a counselor. One of the parents of the kids tried to guilt trip the counselor into thinking that she wasn't doing a good job because she didn't want to take along another kid that has autism. Listen, for those people who have relatives or children directly related to you, or you work in the educational system and you work with these intellectually disabled children, you understand that one autistic kid is enough. 2 autistic kids, now you're asking for some type of fire to just combust right in the middle of your brain, because you're going to find yourself torn in between what is ethical and what should be done by your job versus going upside somebody's head and telling yo, what is you doing? Sit down, stop it, something, help. You're going to drive yourself crazy. And so I understand why she didn't want to take along another autistic kid, no matter the severity of the mental disorder. It doesn't matter. My thing is, why try to guilt trip her when she's already done enough? And she doesn't even have kids. And she doesn't say she doesn't have kids like they're all grown up. She doesn't have kids because she just never, never settled down with the man who she wanted to settle down with. And she's currently, dating, but she's not married, so she doesn't have any interest in having kids. She just loves the job. Now you're putting a bad taste in this lady's mouth, and she's about to sit here and quit. I don't know if she's going to quit or not, but she's put so much energy, and I'm pretty sure it takes education. So I'm pretty sure she had to have some type of degree, and now she has to deal with federal student loans and be in debt. She has to deal with that. Not to mention she has her own life to deal with. And you're going to try to guilt trip this lady in because your failures as a parent, as a provider, isn't equatable to what she's doing. So you're going to blame her? No, this is what I'm talking about. If you're going to operate under the guidelines, operate under the guidelines. You're a parent. Be a parent. You don't get to choose. You don't get to choose and pick when you want to be responsible. And I know some listeners are like, okay, well, that's just one point of view from her side. What about the parent side? Well, she goes on to state in the letter, I don't know how true this is, but I'm going to take her word for it, because if I find out she's lying, then I'm going to rip her a little bit later on. She says the parents don't work. One of the parents is disabled, intellectually disabled, go figure. And hold on, I gotta go back to the top. And she says the father works. Okay, so she said the father works. So the mom is a stay-at-home mom, and the dad goes out and work. Goodness grief. If that isn't the typical 1950s family, I don't know what is. Listen. We live in a society where it's a two-parent income. There's no possible way you can make it work on one income. People say, well, there are rich people who make it work. There's only one person work. Listen to what I said. It's a two-parent income, two incomes. If one parent makes the equivalent of two incomes, then one parent is allowed to stay home. But my thing is, if the woman is disabled, what was wrong with this guy who married her and decided to have 10 kids with her? Something got to be wrong with him. This is completely overwhelming. And sometimes you just got to shake your head and be like, I mean, damn. Like, where does it stop?
Excuse me.